family. The good news is we are now a whole brand new program known as Transforming Families, because we want to be able to accommodate the family at large, not only the married couples as our focus was then, but we want to include the children, the young adults who are confused on how should I know he's the right one or she's the right one, the people who are entering into their menopause age and they're wondering what am I experiencing and what is this whole thing with my body and all that. And I'm so excited because on this whole new journey I am gladly joined by Reverend Edward Karanja.
Thank you very much, Faith.
Asante sana.
Yes, and welcome
for joining us on the Transforming Family.
Amen.
Now, Reverend Edward Karanja is a marriage and family therapist as well as an ordained minister with the Presbyterian Church of East Africa.
Amen.
Yes, asante sana.
Asante sana, Faith. I am grateful to be here and I praise God for the opportunity. And my viewers, please, I want to promise you, you will not be disappointed here as we go through the transformation of our families.
Thank you.
And thank you very much, Faith.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And on the far end is Professor Catherine Gashuda, who is our counseling psychologist, a researcher, an educationist, a renowned marriage and family therapist, as well as the director of Kenya Institute of Business and Counseling Studies. Thank you so much, Prof, for joining us on this bandwagon of transforming families.
Thank you, Faith. Thank you, Lefred. We are going to walk this journey together with the audience as we think about transforming families. Yes.
Well, I am excited about this new journey because I thrive when I see families thriving, especially in this generation where a lot of negative things are being said about the family, generally from the mother to the children to the wedded couples. And I'm excited because I know that we are going to be able to transform families just as our name suggests right here at CAC-TV. Now, to begin with, Professor, we are talking about transforming families, and I don't want us to assume that our viewers out there are aware what a family is. In your own, let's say, in your own definition, how would you describe the word family?
All right, Faith. A family is a social unit, and within the family we have people who are married and they belong to that family, and others who are adopted, others who are born in that family, others who are incorporated in that family. We know in our African culture that children sometimes are brought on board or other people are brought on board and they become family. It may not be through adoption or any other legal means, but this person is known to be part of this family in terms of incorporation. And again, when we look at family, we look at it from the time that people get married, and then they're getting children, and then that is the small unit that we can call the minute family unit, and then it grows and grows to the extended family. So the family can be very small or very big, depending on how we want to define it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, Reverend, if I may ask, we've heard from Prof, and I totally agree with you. When asked randomly what is a family, I'd give the same definition you have. But now there's this famous quote that especially young people like to use and say, family is not about blood, it's about love. It's about who has been there and stood with you during those tough moments. Would you say this is true according to you?
It would still be true because family, as Prof has said, are people who are related by blood, are also people who have been incorporated into your family. And so, for example, you may have someone who has become closer to you and they have been adopted into your family and they become like your brother. The young people will be saying the brother from the other mother or the sister from the other mother because they have come in and they're very close to you. So those are the people who would say they are family by incorporation because it is not by blood, not by birth, it's not by marriage, it's by incorporation. They have been incorporated with the family and they become members of the family. Yes, and of course the family would even include the single mother family, a family that has a husband and wife together, a family that has children together, a family that is just a husband and wife and probably they do not have children, A family whereby you may have one gentleman and then probably he has adopted children around there. So there is the family by blood and there is family by incorporation.
Yeah.
And that's what we are
By
saying.
choice.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So by a choice. So I agree with the young people when they say that. But again, that is a different kind of family. So if I have a friend who is very close to me and they have become family by incorporation, that's a different kind of family. It does not mean that my family of birth
ceases to be
my family.
Yeah.
It ceases to be important. It still means it is important. That is my family of birth. This one is family by incorporation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you for that very well elaboration. Now, as you are giving out the points and saying that your family doesn't cease to be your family,
Yes.
it has just reminded me of many of the unconventional ways that people describe the word family. I don't know if you'd like to highlight on that, Prof. Maybe the different ways that people think this is a family that could be wrong or could be a myth.
Right. Just like we are saying and Lefred has explained, when it comes to family, the family that we are going to be talking about, we are talking about that family where people are related with each other, where people coexist with each other, where people may be born in that particular family, and the genealogy within that family, they can go back and say that I used to belong to this family or I belong to this family. But then people will have different definitions, and they are okay depending on the context against which the definition is being given. Say like even in a classroom situation where people are saying we have become family, or even in a church situation where people say we are a family church, or in any other context. That does not mean that they have become blood relations, but they have become close and tight and they depend on each other.
Would you like to add something on that?
Yes, I want to add on that people can even become, you're in classroom, you're one class, and you become a family. You can be in church and we talk of it being the church family. There is need for family to each one of us because in the family, there's a sense of belonging. And the family takes away the loneliness. That's why someone would say, I have the family of birth, but I have family that is my support system. Either the family of the church or the friends I hang out with, they have become a family because they are my support system in a way. And that kind of a family is also very important to each one of us. That's why the need for the family is there in every one of us. Because I always say, life is not life unless it is shared. And it is in the family that we find opportunities to share our life. We feel important in that particular family we are in. So that's why the family, it can be either that, like we say in the birth, or it can be that other family by association. Yes, right.
Now, allow me to call the family by blood, where it's your mother and your father, and you can't change who they are. Allow me to call it family by chance.
Yes.
That's okay. Now, speaking about the family by chance, we have understood that it's a blood relation where you can trace back and say this is where it all began. Is there a specific or certain way that this family should behave or they should be close? Because you see, families relate differently. There's a family you can walk into and you'll sense the love and the unity and the closeness that is there. And then there's this other family that you'll be around and you'd see things are okay, but then they're not as familiar with each other, they don't crack jokes and all that. Maybe, Reverend, is there a certain way that a family should have an outlook?
I want to begin, pick it up from where you began. Faith, where you have said that there is a family by choice and there's a family by chance. The choice could be because I have gone out and made a choice of a lady to marry. So that's a choice I have made. Then we start bringing up children together. Now, those children are not families by, choice. It is by chance. Because my daughter has been born in my family. My sons have been born in my family. So that is by chance. That is their family. And it's important for each one of us to realize that the moment you're in a family of chance, no choice, you got to make it work. Because there is a way the family of chance, as you call it, is your family. If you go down, you go down with them.
Yeah.
If they go up, you go up with them. So making that family work is very important. So for us to be happy, enjoy life together in a family, we got to begin by even looking ourselves into the mirror, my viewer, and saying, this is my father. I don't have a choice of either he is my father or not.
Yeah.
This is my mother. I don't have a choice. So I got to make it work. This is my brother. This is my sister. I've got to make it work. We are a family. So the moment you make a choice in your mind that this is my family and I don't have a choice about that, then you start working on it happening. The Swahili would say, ukiona vyaelea, vimeundwa. So you see a family laughing together, being happy together. It is not by chance.
Yeah.
There's some work that has been done in that family. Yes, for it to be happy and people to appreciate each other in that family. Some work has been done.
Sure.
Yes, that's what we've been saying. In transforming families, it's like nurturing a tree. So there's work. There's the cultivation. There is the watering of the tree. There is the weeding of the tree. There is work to be done. Yes.
Wow. Professor, as a psychologist, is there a specific, should I say, a specific guideline of this is a healthy family and this one would say it's not doing so well, they need to put in work, just as Reverend has put it?
Yeah. I would want to say, against what Lefred has said, that there is that chance, there is that choice that you're choosing somebody to be your family member. But again, we are saying family is family. And especially when we are talking about families by birth, families by marriage, families where you coexist together, and that is your base in a sense. So in this particular family, there is a way in which you need to act so that the needs of every family member can be met. And the corrective needs of the family can be met. Like, for example, when we say that a family has self-esteem, or a family would want to be looked at in a positive way, then we are saying there are certain things that that family needs to do for it to be looked at in that way. When we think about families, and we think about the vision and mission of any family, because there should be where the family is headed, in a sense, because like the members of the family are looking up to their family to deliver to them and to help them to grow and to develop. Now, if, like, for example, the executive members of the family, that may be mom or dad, or that may be mom alone, or that may be dad alone. If the executive members of the family, their leadership is cherished, what they do, just like we always say, is that when the ones that are leading are not able to lead very well, then what happens is that the others that are following are not going to get to the destination. And that is what happens even to the children, where they feel these guys, mom and dad, they don't talk about issues. And therefore, issues keep on accumulating in our family. And because of that, we experience a lot of stress, we experience a lot of frustration in our family. So I would say faith directly, that there is a way in which a family needs to be, because members of the family have needs that need to be met.
Well, this brings in the question, how would you know that a family is unhealthy?
Right. How would you know that a family is unhealthy? If whatever the family is doing is not promoting growth and development, is not promoting stability of the individuals within the family. Like, for example, people are not happy, people are not contented with what is happening. A wife is not feeling like she got married. She's saying, I wish I didn't even try to get married in the first place. That means there is something that is happening within this family that is not meeting the needs of some of the members of the family. So when we think about, can you know that a family is healthy? Yes, you will know, because maybe people are depressed.
Yeah.
Isn't
Yeah,
it?
sure.
Maybe there is no growth. They are feeling they are stuck in one place. They never seem to be moving anywhere. They don't even seem to have a destination where they need to go. Like, for example, a family that has children, and this family is subjecting these children to FGM or to marriages when they are very young.
Yeah.
That is a family that is very unhealthy. Because when this family got these children, why were they getting children? Were they getting children so that they can simply go through rites of passage or go through like a marriage even when they are not mentally prepared to handle the commitments of a marriage?
Yeah.
And therefore, there are those things that you look at it and you can see this family, there is something very wrong with it. They are not really helping each other to grow and develop to the destinations that they need to go.
Yeah.
When you think about like communication, how do they communicate? If the three of us were a family, and instead of communicating to you, Faith, I am communicating through Reverend, that
True.
means communication in our family is not direct. Then you are going to be feeling, I am left out here.
Yeah.
I don't have a sense of belonging in my family. That family, again, that communicates in that way is, in a sense, very sick and very ill, and it requires treatment. It requires to be taken to a hospital to be treated.
To be treated. Allow me to tell our viewers that they can send in their questions and comments to our number, that is 0111220044, and we'll be looking at them. Now, your explanation is perfect, which raises again another concern, I must say. How do you, in terms of knowing that a family is healthy, so you look at a family and you realize something is wrong with this family, but maybe the family is okay, because as you said, Professor, that if a family is sick, it needs treatment. So let's say a child of the family is not feeling that they are part of the family. Let me use the example with the communication that you've used. So they don't feel like they're belonging and they've gone out to seek counseling services. Now, how do you know it is the child that is the problem and not the family? So maybe the family could be healthy, but one member is unhealthy. How does that whole aspect work?
Pick it again from where you left it at, Prof, about communication. Even as we say that, how do you pick that it is one member of the family that is unhealthy and not the rest of the members?
Yeah.
The unhealthiness of one member of the family also brings unhealthiness of the entire family, the other members of the family, because whatever they are doing affects the family in one way or the other. In communication, the actual words you say, even when you're communicating, the actual words you say, according to Albert Moravin, it takes only 7% of your true feelings. When say, I love you, I feel you, it is only 7% of your true feeling. But when the way you say those words, I'm sorry, the way the words are said is 38%. So there is the 7% of the words, the 38% of how the words are said, and then a whole 55% of the body language. So you could be say that is one son or daughter who is unhealthy. But even our body language as the other members of the family, our body language towards that particular family member, it shows them you don't belong here. They walk into the house and the way even you do your body, they can tell I don't belong here. And that's why the Bible in Ephesians chapter 4 and verses 2 and 3 says, make every effort. Every effort. Verse 2 says, bearing with each other. Each other's fault.
Yeah. And
I love the New Living Translation. In a family, there will be faults. And if the Bible knows that we are not perfect, we're going to have faults one with the other. So when the family now start expecting the child to be perfect, and they have a drawn line, the narrow and straight line that one may follow, And when they go off the line a little bit, you'll all scold them and all that kind of stuff. You will end up saying that son or daughter is unhealthy, but it's because we have already prepared a certain channel where they should pass through that particular channel. So it is important for us to be able to ask ourselves, how are we communicating with each other? Is our body language telling each other that we are okay? Yeah. We even have many unhealthy families today because of the generational gaps. The way I grew up, I expect my children to grow up the same.
Sure.
I expect them, I went to the river to fetch water because there was no tapped water. I am bringing up my children in an environment where there is water in the house. I used to go and cut napier grass for the cows. I used to milk the cows and go to school with the milk to the teachers. I do not have cows in my house. So when I expect and we say, oh, this generation are lazy, all they do is lie idle in the house, we become unhealthy because I'm expecting a child growing up in 2020 as a teenager, 13 years, to be a teenager when I was a teenager in 1985. Those are two different generations. You cannot expect the child to be there, to be in that particular situation. So we also become unhealthy because of the expectation, the wrong expectations. Yeah. And I have had the parents all over saying, Reverend, speak to these children. They are lazy. All they do is lie on the couch and watch the TV. Yeah. Faith, I saw the TV when I went to Form 1. My children saw the TV before they were born. So when we expect that, then the family also becomes unhealthy many times.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what I'm getting from you is about understanding times and how different it is as well. So as a parent, you need to be at par with what is happening and understand that you as a teenager is not your child now as a teenager.
Yes. It is very important for the parents, and all the viewers, the parents listening to me, it is important for the parents to realize the child is growing up at very different times compared to the times we grew up in. The way the society took care of our child. When we grew up, we would go outside to play football, and the football was not the one buying from the shop. We would always make our own balls. We'll go out to play ball. We'll go out to do the slides, climb the trees. We will be beaten for going to play. Today, we now push the children to go out and play. So these days we are like, all you can do is lie on the couch and you're doing nothing, go out and play. For me, anytime I went outside to play, I was beaten up for going to play. I was like, there's nothing else you can think about. So it is important for the parents to understand the different times we are living in.
Sure.
Very important.
Yeah.
Yes.
Professor, maybe just to briefly touch on healthy and unhealthy families, just as you had mentioned earlier, that family needs work. Reverend told us that, and you have to seek treatment if your family is unwell, that is quote unquote. After seeking treatment and your family, and you're working on the different faults that were there, does it end there? Or you might fall sick again, so you have to continue putting in the work?
Yeah, work is continuous. Work is continuous, and from one developmental stage to the other one. And there are times when work is more laborious than other times. Like for example, we are dealing with COVID situation today, and parents who are employed are not employed.
Yeah.
Parents who could get resources from a business they had, they do not have that. That means that there is a lot of work in making sure that we redefine the family again. We redefine our expectations again. We redefine our hopes again. So you can see, we didn't expect that we were going to go through COVID last year.
Sure.
And therefore, a lot of plans had gone down. Maybe having a mortgage or having a loan or whatever. But now you realize you cannot continue with that mortgage anymore. You don't have the capital to continue paying for the mortgage, or you are taking your children to private schools that were expensive. You realize you can't do that anymore because the situation is not allowing for that. Meaning that there are those emerging issues that come within family. Even a wife can realize, I've gotten pregnant, I didn't expect to
You were
get
not
pregnant
planning.
this time around.
Yeah.
But then now you have to adjust to the reality. Now you're pregnant, you're going to give birth to a child, and emotionally and psychologically, you have to be prepared for this child. Because if you don't prepare, we know so many women who get postpartum depression because you never prepared yourself psychologically for what is going to happen. That this is the reality I need to contend with.
Sure.
So I would say that families, they need to know, just like they have to go to work so that they can feed the family, or the survival needs within the family can be taken care of. That is the same way that we need to look at all aspects of life when it comes to family life, that we need every morning, every evening, we are working. During the day, we are working. We are asking ourselves, how is my daughter? How is my son? How is my uncle? How is my auntie? Because I would want to know whether they are proceeding on well. Are they taking care of themselves? Are they wearing masks? Are they self-quarantining themselves? We need to mind each other's business. And by minding each other's business within the family, we are doing the work.
And I'd say family is work all through.
You've
But
got
at
work.
the end of it all, it is work that it is worth it because you get to enjoy.
Yes. And something, Faith,
Sure.
that Prof has said, that maybe a wife has gotten pregnant and she did not prepare for it. During this COVID era, which man will understand why you have gotten yourself pregnant
Sure.
with all the troubles that we have? How would you convince the man you are not prepared? And we have strained resources.
It is a tough time.
It's a tough time, and then you have become expectant.
Yeah.
We may talk about the lady going through the depression. The man could be even going through even a bigger depression because of the resources. And men think resources, Prof. They think resources. Once he's a child, maybe you had built a house that is only 2 bedrooms. Now this is another bedroom you want me to build. It is school fees you want me to pay. Diapers. So the man already, the resources are strained. And then the wife is busy telling me a child is a blessing from heaven. The seed of the womb is a So it's also good to understand that the thinking of the lady and the thinking of the man is also very different.
Sure. Let's take a very short break. We'll be right back because I see a text from Anne who says, talk about toxic parenting. I think that my mom is toxic. We'll be talking about all this and much more when we come back right here on Transforming Families.
Thank you.
Are you looking to grow a business? CAC TV offers you a variety of advertising opportunities to suit your budget. Advertise with us today and reach your potential customers countrywide. For more information, email us on sales@cactv.org or call 0794 588 054.
Alright, welcome back to Transforming Families. Thank you so much for keeping it CAC TV. My name is Faith Kaulu and I am joined by Reverend Edward Karanja and Professor Catherine Kashuga. And this first episode, we just want to understand the basics of family before we dive in, because we know that there are so many misconceptions out there and people every day that are struggling to understand their family, what is happening, how am I able to solve this and get my family all together. And so that is what we are all about on this first episode. Now, before we went on a break, Professor, there's a question about toxic parenting. Let's first of all touch on toxic parenting before we get to explain how to know you are the toxic one, because most of the times we want to blame the other person for being toxic. So let's first begin with toxicity in the family.
When we talk about toxicity, we are talking about poisonous elements within the family. Like when people are communicating and they are simply blaming each other, instead of understanding what have I been told and have I understood it so that I can be able to respond appropriately. And so families become toxic when they somehow are not able to resolve their own problems, and they have a lot of stresses within, and those stresses now are projected on each other. When a child feels blamed, like by a parent or another sibling, what the child will do is to be angry. And when the child is angry, the way they treat their sister and brother, they're going to do it with a lot of irritation. And this continues to accumulate a lot of hurt and pain and misery within family. When the person who asked the question was asking and saying, I think my mother is toxic, there is what she has seen that is making her feel, I don't feel purified by my mother. I don't feel she attends to my own needs. I don't feel like she is being functional in what she does because I am a child. She needs to understand me and she needs to walk the journey with me so that I can be able to get a relief, because families should give people relievers. When families are giving people complication, then that becomes very difficult. So when a family is toxic, we may want to ask ourselves, what is this family doing? Is it something it is not doing, or is it something it is doing, and the way it is doing it is not doing it for the benefit of the family members? Indeed, the family members are feeling that they are not served by this family.
Now, in the same light of toxic parenting, Rev, I'd say I know a lot of young people who feel like their parent is toxic because either they're too strict or they're too tough on them. You see, there's no parent who wants to raise a child in a wayward way. So, mom, I want to go out. There's no going out with your friends, and your friends are out. So you feel like, wow, my mom doesn't love me or she doesn't care. So how or should a child be able to identify that this is discipline and tough love, and now this is toxic?
Thank you very much. One of it is that it is necessary to, first of all, say a child would be able to understand that this is discipline and this is not because mom is toxic, but the language used is very important. What is the language? Like the child saying that I think my mom is toxic, it is where we say it again about generation, because it could be the language the mother has been using. Because some people grew up with mothers who had very tough language. They used the language that you dreaded. So maybe this mother is using the same language to this child at this time in era. I don't know whether, my viewer, you grew up in an environment whereby there was a mother, you would ask, you are holding a utensil, you ask them, where do I place this? They say, place it on my head. And
you're left wondering, wow.
Wow, I mean, like, where did that come from? And then your mom is going away and leaving the little baby with you guys, and they're telling you, ban that baby,
Yeah, sure.
Mom comes home, you have not fed, and you ask, Mommy, what do we eat? And the mom says, did I go with the sufurias? So maybe the mother grew up in such kind of environment, and she's bringing that same tough language to this generation. So this generation is wondering, what do you mean? They even want to Google what is sufuria. They even want to Google your statement. So it's the language and understanding the generation you grew up in and the child is growing up in. So the language that you use for the child to be able to understand that this is, discipline. It's not because I'm hated. It is good to use the right language. You can even hold them on their face. Explain why you're doing things. Our parents, especially my generation, never explained things to us. They only told us, and we were to follow to the letter. The current generation of my children, you have to explain things. Mom would simply say, I am going away, nikirudi, I want to find you have done this, this, and it was like a military camp. You say, yes, sir, or yes, madam. You can't question. Even if inside you will decide, I will not do this. You couldn't. the current generation would ask you. You'll even tell a child, please don't go away. Spend the whole entire day at home. If you want to do anything, ride a bicycle or do this. And they're like, that is so hard. It's boring. I need to go out and see my friends.
Yeah.
So you need to look the child in the face, explain to them what you're doing, if you're disciplining them. If you want them to achieve better academic grades, do not let them think that it's because of the grade they have achieved that you have loved them more. There are things that are basic about a child, about love, about self-worth. Let your child know and get it in the head they are loved.
Yeah.
You can even tell them as you go to bed, I love you. You know, cover them. This business of hearing that even fathers cannot go through to their girls' room and even cover them at night as they go to bed, I don't understand. Because you need to create that belief in your child that they are loved. So even when you tell them don't go out, they have the belief it's not because my mommy, daddy hates me. It is because what they are telling me is for my own good.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know what I have explained.
Yeah, you have put it very well.
Yes.
And I love the fact that you have brought out the generational discrepancy that is there, because
Yes.
I mean, the parent that, well, how do I put it? Let's say my mother,
Yes.
yeye akiambiwa, you know, eka sufuria kwa kichwa yangu, for her she understood.
Yes.
I need to act, go wash the sufuria, do the cooking. The tough language, she's used to that. And now you come to this generation and the child wants to hear that you love them. Yeah?
Yes.
The daughter wants to know that daddy loves me, and they want to hear I love you from the father.
Yes.
And it's still something that the society is not used to, because these are parents who never had their parents say that to them, and maybe even to their spouses. It was a very difficult word to say I love you, and people are getting used to that.
But
So
that's
now-
true faith. I
Yeah.
can't remember ever a parent telling me that I love you. What business was that?
Yeah.
You know, I feed you. If you don't believe I love you, that's your business.
Yeah.
And now the children need affirmation.
Sure.
We grew up with parents who never affirmed us. So, and again, back to the person who has asked the question. They are like looking into that affirmation. Maybe they are going around and they have friends who are being affirmed. Maybe they
By
receive
their
a phone, they hear by their dads, by their
Yeah,
moms.
yeah.
They hear somebody receiving a phone call from their dad and mommy saying, are you okay? Are you fine? I love you.
Yeah.
To them, maybe the language they are told, yani leo urudi nyumbani, unalala huko, usirudi. For us, if we were told, usirudi hapa, you knew you were told, come right away. The current generation, you tell them, usirudi hapa, they will not come.
They won't come back.
Thank you. Sorry
So
for
now
cutting you short.
how do we bridge that, you know, because this is a parent who is different, this is a child who is different. Again, right now, as you've said, if you were telling a child to do something, they need explanation. So also as a parent, how do you understand that your child is not being rude? This is just a whole different generation, and it's a gap that we need to bridge. Professor.
Yeah. When you think about the generations and how different they are, and what influences generations to be different, number one, the prevailing circumstances and experiences that they go through make them to be different. And just like Lefred explained very well, what was happening during our times growing up is very different from what is happening today.
Sure.
Today there is water, there wasn't water, water to be drawn from the river. And today you can wear so many pairs of shoes. Then not having a pair of shoe was the kawaida thing that was there during that time. So we are looking at what is happening during that time. Economically, we were in a different time, a different stage, limitations of finances and all that. Now, we wouldn't say that that is the same kind of a thing that is happening today. And therefore, the parents' generation need to understand the prevailing circumstances and factors that they are parenting their children in, so that they can respond to their children, knowing that their children are being shaped by the circumstances and the experiences that they are going through. If, like, for example, we talk about technology, children who are born, when they can touch a phone and know how to function it or know how to operate it,
Yeah.
but then the parent did not grow up in that kind of an environment where gadgets and technology are there imprinting. It was a different period of time. So the parents need to know the differences are these ones. And therefore we need to respond to our children very differently.
Sure.
You could be shouted at and still know you're not being hated. But we are saying the children today, because we gave birth to those children and we showed them a lot of love and a lot of care, and we walked with them the journey when they were small. They learned how to be loved in that way, to be cuddled, to be spoken to be listened to be smiled at, to be celebrated. And then you say because they have become big, they are not going to be celebrated. You cannot speak another language from the one that you spoke to the child when a child was very small. As we would be left under a banana tree when our parents are tilling the land, and you cry until your voice is not there anymore. It's not there anymore. And mom will still come and take you. So we knew to be independent in a sense. This child knows that you need to be there to make sure that in every stage of their own life, you are there listening to them, understanding them, and validating them. So if you don't do that, then they are going to feel you don't love me. Because you started with love, why are you now continuing with hard love? I do not understand that. So we need to know the methods that we introduce and the environment that we introduce to children. We have to continue with that. We cannot introduce the hardness when we had started with the softness. Then you have to use the softness and make sure that it is working for the child in bringing up the child to become resilient and hardy, because within that softness there are so many other strategies that you can use to shape this individual.
Now let me ask a question right there, because you have put in a very good aspect of being tender, caring and loving to a child, which today unaambiwa, hey, you'll spoil your child, why are you too loving, why are you too caring? So how are you able to know that there's a balance between softness and hardness? I'm not being too tough and I'm not showing them too much love that will, where I am giving them everything that will end up misleading them, because you know they say the world is tough as well out there. So how do you ensure that there's a balance and that your child will be a whole good product, or is the talk of being too soft a myth?
Faith have written a book on effective parenting in the 21st century, and in the book I'm trying to look into that. When you are providing a child like too much love or very little love, and a child is feeling, I am neglected here, because I feel that my parents, they are not there for me in the way they should be there for me. There is no manual that tells you this is the quantity and the quality of love and care that you need to give to your child. But we also know that we are able to measure when we talk to each other, because I can be able to tell my spouse, I would want you to be telling me that I am nice and I am lovely. What I am communicating to my husband is he is giving me deficiency when it comes to approving me and validating me. So as long as we are talking and we are listening to each other, and we are trying to understand each other, not only in the spoken language, but even when it comes to the non-verbal communication. We will be able to read from our children or from other family members. They're not sitting plenty in this home. And we can ask them, why are you not sitting plenty? And they can say, because you love my brother much more than you love me. Because you shouted at me yesterday. I do not want to be shouted at like that, especially when they are visitors. So then we will know, because we are communicating to each other. And because of that, we will be able to level it out to a point we are going to be able to know that this is too much and this is too little. Because when we give little, there is deficiency in the child. When we give much, there is deficiency in the child. Because this child is not going to become independent, because we've been doing for them what they require to do for themselves.
And I think for me that brings in the whole aspect of self-evaluation. As a parent, how am I doing? And how is my child responding to me, and all that aspect. And it brings back a question that we didn't answer about toxicity in the family, because we've understood how another family member can be toxic. Now, self-evaluation is quite difficult and I'd say brutal, because it's very hard for people to be honest with themselves and see that I am in the wrong side myself. It's not my family, it's not my mom, it's myself. So Reverend, I'd like to pose this question to you. How does one sit down, evaluate themselves, and know that I am toxic and I need to change this character?
And thank you very much for the question. One, like we had said in our Ephesians 4, 2 and 3, begins to by saying, always be considerate of each other, bearing with each other's fault. And then verse 3 says, making every effort to keep yourselves united. And this is where you need to look now through your mind and say, if it is trying to sacrifice my time and come home a little bit early for the sake of my children, I'll make effort. Because the Bible says, make every effort. Is it going to the bedroom of my son and saying hello to him or my daughter so that we can become united? I'll make that effort. Be patient with each other's faults. Be considerate of one another. Even as a parent, I think I am busy here, putting food on the table and all that. Remember, these are teenagers or young children who have their needs, and they also need to be listened to. So how do you do self-evaluation? I did self-evaluation one time. Sat down around the house and we said, we need to evaluate each other. We are 5 in the family. And we said, give each other 5 foolscaps. And said, write 5 things about each one of us. 1 foolscap writes about me, writes about the mother, a daughter, son. So everybody had 5 foolscaps to write 5 things about everyone in the family. And so yours has your name on top. So, and it went out. So you are given yours, so that now you read. If the 3-4 family members have said the same thing about me, then it means they are not being malicious. It means there's something they're doing. So that way I am able to even balance, my authority in the house, my, reaching out to them, my patience. Maybe I'm not as patient as I should be with the family members. So one of the things you can do evaluation is to have a family meeting. I always said, in a house we always try to have a family. Every day we will meet together, say a prayer together. Especially during this COVID time, the beauty is that even when I come home at 9, nobody's asleep. So we still can be able to pray together as a family. But then when we're in school, the children in school, we used to hold every week, we'll have a family meeting, whereby we'll talk everything to each other. That time you'll influence each other, because you'll be like, I don't want to say, especially the bigger ones, they'll start holding back. But I realized when we told them write, they'll write everything they think about me, and me about them as well. And I have seen that self-evaluation, bearing fruits. Because initially we used to do, you tell somebody, the areas of improvement or areas of growth. First of all, tell them what they have done well, then the areas of growth where they need to grow. Then I realized some of us were starting to become malicious, especially the teenagers.
Yeah.
So he said, let us write and then see what will happen. But I'm saying we need to be patient with each other. And to end where Prof said, it's important to also realize, especially for my viewer, mtoto mleavyo ndivyo akuavyo. You have pampered a child when they are so young. Mommy, Daddy, I love you. You call them all those names. A man, you have like brought him up, pampering them. Then all of a sudden they have gone through circumcision or through class 8, they in Form 1, and you're all over telling them, when ni mwanaume, when ni mwanaume, mwanaume ni kujikausha, mwanaume ni kujikausha. But you pampered this child all the way through. Now you are throwing them into the deep waters after handling them all through. You need, if you want them like to, be that mwanaume ni kujikausha, mwanaume ni nini, then you need to start bringing them closer, to that reality you want them to be in. If you calm them too much, then even as you release them to go, you got to be a little bit careful on how you are releasing them to go. And that's why even the girls who have been loved by their mommy and daddy so much, when they have little issues with their husbands, they rush back home because they know they have a bedroom, they have a mother or a father who will handle them because that's how they grew up. And they were never prepared to go. So it's important to know mtoto mleavyo ndivyo akuavyo. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, now when you say that, do not just throw them in the deep waters, which I agree with you.
Yes.
Because most parents do that. All of a sudden you wake up and one day you're told, you are big enough. Now, when you're telling the viewer as a parent, walk through with the child, prepare them, when should they start doing that?
It's good to, from the word go, handle the baby, love the child, let them be assured that they are loved. But then let the child grow knowing this is your home, it's not their home.
Yeah.
Throughout, that's for me. I always would remind these children, you need to have to make your own home, make your own living. This is my home, this is my living. So throughout, even as they grow up knowing that. Let them know, by the time you clear university or college and you get a job, you are on your own. So you start telling them that. But a child cannot complete high school and immediately clear the high school and is a girl.
Yeah.
You no longer buy them oil, you no longer buy them toothpaste. You are like, unimaliza shule tumemalizana.
Yeah.
That is when you now start seeing what Prophet said, the early marriages. Or even those girls being taken advantage of because throughout high school, she or he used to give you the list of the needs. Mafuta ya kujipaka, toothpaste, everything. Now they complete Form 4, and in December, they don't give you a list. Yet you still expect a girl who is 17 or 18 completed Form 4 to look good. A young man out there or a sponsor, the older one, will start making them look good. Sure. And I'm saying this as a father to a daughter. My firstborn is a daughter. And she's at the university. So, and I knew that even when she cleared high school, her responsibility was still my responsibility. Yes. But clearly knowing the moment you get a job, you are out of this, you start earning your salary.
You transition smoothly.
You transition smoothly.
Not just one
you don't just throw them into the water.
Yeah.
No. You let them, they can even complete university and they don't have a job.
Sure.
And you still support them. Because the world we are living in, it's not like when we cleared university and there was almost a ready job coming to you. Now, there is even the issue like of waiting. Support them during that time. But again, don't make it so comfortable to the point that they are not even making effort to go out to look for the job.
Sure.
Yes.
I'd love us to talk about a whole lot more, especially from the points you put across.
Yes.
But as we're coming to a conclusion, I'd like to ask a very easy question. We are talking about transforming families, and we have people who sadly have been rejected by their families because of one thing that led to another, and they're not in touch with their families. This is a family by chance, your mother, your siblings, and all that. Now there are those who, by choice, they say my family is toxic and I can't deal with them. I need to be away from them, just live my own life and all that. Professor, as an author who's written about family, as well as a psychologist, can one really thrive without the family by chance, as I put it that way?
Can you thrive when you are uprooted from your base. And just like a branch or a leaf in a tree, it is not going to continue growing if it is not connected to the stem of the tree. And that's what happens to individuals who try to cut themselves away from their own families. And I'm talking about this from a spiritual angle and even from an emotional angle. Because you need to keep on getting connected. And just like the Bible that talks about generations, from one generation to the other, you are cutting yourself away because maybe the family is toxic.
Yeah.
And you asked a very good question. Who is the problem here? Is it the individual or is it the family that is the system? Is it the branch? Is it the leaf? Or is it the tree in terms of the trunk and the roots? If the tree, the trunk, and the roots are not okay, then what they are going to do is to make sure that the leaves and the fruits are not going to be provided with the nutrients they require for them to grow.
Sure.
So when we cut ourselves away from the family, we call it emotional cut-off. We are cutting off from the family, but we don't forget that we have a family. We are hurting, we are paining, we are angry, we are frustrated because we have cut ourselves off. We may even be in another country, but we are still feeling, I don't feel loved. I don't feel appreciated.
Yeah. You're still bitter.
Yeah. I feel pushed away by my own family, meaning that there is hurt in there that needs to be healed. Yes, a family by chance, a family you're born in because, you didn't choose, but you're born there. You belong there. Even if you cut away, you still belong to that family.
Yeah.
What we do as therapists is to tell you, go back to your family of origin and work out the issues that are making you to be hurt. Because if you don't work out those issues, you take them to your marriage, you take them to workplaces, you take them to other places, you take your toxicity, because that is toxicity now that you've not been able to deal with, so that you can be rehabilitated or you can be detoxed from the poisonous substances that you got from your family of origin. So I would say you cannot survive out there because you're going to take your toxicity of the emotional cut off or the relationships that you have cut off to other relationships that you are going to be forming. I was reading the book of Micah, Prophet Micah chapter 7, and verse 6 was very interesting to me because it was talking about daughters opposing their mothers and daughters-in-law quarreling their mothers-in-law and sons thinking their fathers are stupid. And I looked at it and I said, it happens in a toxic family.
It does.
Where people are striving in this way, and you can feel like, I want to cut off, get married, and I'll never come back to this family. Now, your children are going to be asking, where is Shosho?
Yeah.
And where is my grandfather? And where do we come from ourselves? They're asking about where is our background? Where do we come from? Where is our genesis? Because we all want to know where we come from.
Yeah.
And maybe a minute to add upon what she said, the spiritual angle of it, because she said when you cut off from your family of origin, there is the issue of cutting off from, emotionally and spiritually.
Sure.
The Bible says in the Gospel of John, Jesus Christ is the vine and we are the branches. Any branch cut off, withers, dies off. The moment you cut the branch, it looks still very green. It still looks nice, even though it's not attached to the vine. But with the time, it will wither away. The same thing, the moment you cut off from your family of origin, you may look okay at that moment you are cutting off. You may look okay 1 or 2 or 3 years down the line. But at the end of it, you'll start withering away because the emotional need of connection will still coming back to you because, like I said, life is not life unless it is shared.
Yeah.
So the need for the connection will keep coming back to you.
Sure.
Thank you.
And that is why the family needs transformation.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That is why we are here, to ensure that we transform the family
Yes.
and talk about issues that are rising that need to be dealt with.
Yes.
Thank you so much for today. We had questions, a lot of them coming in. One is saying, let's talk about generational curses, which needs a whole different episode of itself
Yes.
to be able to tackle that deeply.
Yes.
So thank you so much for today. We end it there.
Wow.
However, Transforming Families continues every Saturday right here at CAC TV. My name is Faith Kaulu, and I was gladly joined by Reverend Edward Karanja and Professor Kathleen Gashuda. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
the enlightenment and your word of wisdom.
Glory be to
Yeah,
God.
till
Thank you.
next time. All right.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you so much. So till next time, keep watching CAC TV. Interact with us on our social media platforms, Facebook and YouTube at CAC TV Kenya. Goodbye. CAC TV invites you to live Sunday